So, hi, Chris. I'm very happy that you took time very spontaneously. Like, I literally talked to you on WhatsApp 1 hour before discussing some controversial topics, as we always do. And you agreed to jump on a podcast and allow me to share your ideas with the world, so to say. And to briefly introduce yourself, I met you 11 years ago while I was trying to
12.
build my first startup, and you were already a mentor. So you were already a personality in Berlin that was well connected, knew the ups and downs and salt and butter of building a startups. You became one of the most profound investor or angel investors. But what's most interesting, you're one of the few personalities in Berlin that have such a broad palette of opinions on every topic that it's either super interesting to listen to you, or you sound like a preacher, but some of your preachers, like they are worth mentioning. Like just to give you one example, I did not believe, my logical mind did not believe that war between Ukraine and Russia could start it. And you were so kind of convinced that it's going to happen, as you would know already, like a preaching mind. And then it was the same thing. We were chatting on WhatsApp, and then you answering, Sergey, it started. And I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it, and couldn't believe it. And yes, it is a fact. The war is on. And today we are talking about AI and some controversial topics. And you've been sending me some links, and I'm reading about that, and I'm kind of skeptic, but then I'm thinking, damn, it's Christoph. So he can't just say things. There has to be some evidences behind, and this is why I wanted to record this podcast and talk to you about. But just to start, a question. So you are quite famous angel investor. Out of a handful of investments that you've done, what are the most successful investments that you could share with us?
I mean, like monetarily, or something that really delivered like an unexpected but very positive return, was the investment in Videoly. You may remember them, yeah, because in return, I should probably introduce you to your audience too, because it might be that I know you in ways that they don't know you. I know you, among other things, as a mentor to my startups. So it's highly possible, and in this case, even totally true, that you know everyone involved yourself, because that was Konstantin Sarainov back in the day, who started a startup, participated in my accelerator program, and a couple of years later approached me to buy back my shares. So it wasn't an exit, it was a secondary exit. And from that money they gave me, I started investing again as a business angel. So that's something. The longest running startup that I'm a shareholder of is called Seniovo, and you know Jonathan too. Jonathan Kohl, yeah. So this is really like us among friends talking about joint friends, and who all happen to be startup founders. And they just picked up another 4.5 million in investment in a post Series A. So they are still growing, but that's like from 2016, 2017. So eventually there might also be an exit. Then just 2.5 years ago, and I documented that in my podcast, Angels of Deutschland, I invested in a company called Movacar. They do vehicle transfers, and they're still at the beginning. Yeah, like everyone else, they were almost killed by COVID, but now they're like really growing. They had their first profitable months. Unexpected things happened all the time, like near death, and then all of a sudden things look amazingly bright. So that's something that's going on, and I'm just, as we speak, preparing to sit down with a new team that I want to maybe invest in, who I'm going to meet after Easter, and who want to start this crazy journey from the very beginning again. First-time founders, and those are the guys who I can help most, arguably, right? And help them avoid mistakes. So I'm still totally in the thick of it. And this new one, I can't yet tell you, because it's, as we say in German, unlaid eggs. So I haven't yet done it. And it's still, you know how it is. Yeah. You only talk about these things when the money is on the bank account, not a second before, because until then everything can still go go wrong. But that might be like a new positive news to talk about in 4 weeks' time or so.
So the way you do this, it's quite hands-on. So with everyone I talk, including Konstantin and Jonathan, say, when Chris is around, he's opinionated. He could criticize, he give feedback. He's kind of like a hidden head of operations. He's not involved in operations, but you constantly feel him being around, and that also made you being accelerator and incubator of a builder, so to say, because I met you while you were actively involved in some of the products that not only you helping young startup, but also like guiding them through from A to Z to be successful in the field. What have you learned in the last 15 years being angel founder builder in Germany, and what might be the secret sauce, how to start a business startup and not end up in killing this in the next few months, but rather turning this into potential big thing or a unicorn?
Well, I mean, many of these things I've put down in my podcast, Angels of Deutschland, that however is in German. So anyone who doesn't speak German, this would be a good reason why. Yeah? Why you want to learn German, listen to my podcast. There are so many things, and I would say that most things are totally commonsensical. Because I don't think that like about this whole startup thing, there's anything like a specialized knowledge that only few people have, like an expert knowledge that makes you a better founder or more likely to succeed. I really think that after all these years, it's still very much down to things that anyone can grasp and anyone can try. Technology has become ever more available. Methodologies have become ever more clearer, and there's more experienced people out there who can help you. So ultimately, it's still down to these very simple things. Are you someone who is dedicated and loves and believes in a certain problem and its solution? Do you want to commit the time? Do you want to commit the dedication? If the answer is yes, then everything else is a commodity, really a commodity. Technology is a commodity. Business models are a commodity. People, to an extent, like employees are a commodity, and much of that can even now be fulfilled with technology.
Well, everyone we already talked about, or I know in my network, this golden flavor of founder gene, in my opinion, don't exist. You need to be just curious, resilient, willing to burn your ego, leave the this golden cage or comfort zone, as we describe that, and try something. I think it's like curiosity and resilience is the main two features or threats that the founder should have. But like I'm really curious because like also looking forward in the future and having this AI and our doorsteps at the moment, most of the most prolific and honest contacts and endeavors we do with people. Like it's basically about knowing people, trusting them, listening, learning. And what you do is basically what I described, this social layer, help people to get an opinion, get their idea being criticized, or simply, say if this is a right thing or wrong thing. How do you see like us moving forward as a civilization with, like continuously growing digital time and digital screen and less time being able to connect with each other, like, really get this human connection? And if we look at the history and apply it now, like what is the model, or just imagine we settling up on Mars and we want to do it right, while we have all this technology, but same history of human involvement, human development. How would you do it right?
That's a broad question, but there's two things that I want to mention. Another friend of ours, who you might remember, Mikko Alasarila. Do you remember him?
Yes.
He was and so like his answer to that question, or like his theory about this conundrum, for many years already, like when he left Berlin, like I remember how he was already talking about this, that we need, as humans, we need an AI that's on our side. Like he always said that there's so much AI coming to assault us from various directions, from developers, from companies, from media, whatever, that we need something like AI that works for us. Something like, a helper that sits on our shoulder or that's in our watch or whatever, and that helps us navigate, but also push back on this Skynet, that is assaulting us from all sides. Assaulting not necessarily with bad intentions. Yeah, like we're also talking about better education, games, whatever. So I think we agree on this, that this is not necessarily bad. But he said already back then that humans are already in the process of becoming not capable anymore to navigate this. That, like if the other side basically works with the power of 50,000 supercomputers, and you yourself only have your brain, it's like an unfair match, right? So humans and individuals need something on their side too. And Mikko just wrote a book on aspects of this, came out just a couple of weeks ago. So that, like, talking to him about like how he sees this balance of power affected and what to do about it, should be really interesting. So he's really digging into this and trying to find answers. That's the first part. So like, technology works on both sides, and let's see where that comes from. Maybe already by the end of this year, all of us will have something like a Tamagotchi, like a personalized AI that we tell what we want and what we do not want in order to, negotiate this interface. Very much possible. The second thing is, AI is not the only thing that's going on. Like you see so many things happening on a social level that try to make it possible, even in changing times to stay connected to people that you want to stay connected with. And the trend there is not only since yesterday to break up the old-fashioned boundaries of family or like your age group or something. Like I see like globally there's a movement towards you want to share time with people who you have something in common with, who you are passionate together, about similar things. And it doesn't matter if they're in your age or whether they are in your country or speak your language even. Tribes are forming around ways of life. Van life people are meeting on parking lots in Portugal. What do I know? It's not my way of traveling, but I know that there's this community going on. Digital nomads, of course, but this is also expanding into families. Families are relocating, are part-time relocating. They're looking for solutions to teach at home or like teach in impromptu classes that form somewhere else. So this whole human connection thing, independently of what's going on in AI, is moving as well, connected to new work, of course, connected to like the disruption that we had through COVID. And that's not a standstill. Like as little as we can say about AI because it's moving so fast, we can say about like how human relations and our connection with each other moves. One of the open goals of me hosting this AI masterclass in Malaga that you were invited to as well, but chose not to come. One of the reasons was because like I spent the past months down here in the south, and I wanted to see people. I wanted to see friends. I wanted to us to spend like a intense time together where we had like important stuff to talk about. But I also wanted us to go out every night and have like great food and go to beach restaurants to have fresh fish, that sort of stuff. So and like quite a group of people accepted that proposal. And I'm not sure whether that would have worked 20 years ago. 20 years ago when everybody, including me, was much more about like that stuff that you do when you are on vacation. When you're not on vacation, that's not possible. That's outrageous. That's not what you do. So hopefully, and I'm going to do my part, it's going to work in a way that like more of us are going to see each other focused on stuff that we have in common, in locations that lend themselves well to that, and not necessarily, I think that's really important, only confined to like this digital nomads, like, no kids, no family, no attachments, whatever group that has always been traveling the world. But even beyond that, because everybody sees how things can work outside of like one fixed school building or, one fixed office. I have to give one more example for all of this, which is your sailing group that vice versa, you have always been inviting me to, and that I never picked up on because I don't know, maybe I thought that there was too much vodka involved, or
Yeah,
maybe
we
it's
did.
also
No, we didn't sail for almost like 1.5 years since the war breakup. It's been pretty tough, uh,
yeah.
but we'll definitely will follow up and do that. But what what do you think? And I will connect it with this event we had recently on Sunday when we were asked to call for a climate aid in Berlin and make a city neutral, like a carbon neutral, and almost half of the population decided to say no to that. And it also connected with fears. When people don't understand something holistically, they rather tend to opt out and say, if we don't know what's happening, I would rather say no and wait and see. With AI, we might have the same fears or even higher, because like it's connected with some movies like Terminator, Doomsday, Skynet, etc. Um, what can we do in a society like you and me uh, to actually spread out the positive vibes about technology and make sure that we embrace that and learn to navigate this tool in our day-to-day life, and not to be this like black box guy that say like
Yeah, yeah.
no, if I don't understand this fully, I would rather not use this at all.
I mean, for me, I found a very clear and precise answer for that. Yeah, for like, and I've been following this answer for 15 years or more, which is enabling people. Like the secret lies in bringing people to a point where they're not suffering, where they're not an object of a certain development, but a subject. The moment that you understand how to generate, like, a movie with generative AI, that's the moment when you become a subject, like a person capable of dealing with this technology and not only with receiving and consuming it. And that's why I was always so positive and excited about HTML, because it enabled someone like me to be a participant, a maker, a creator of technology, and not a consumer that has to accept whatever is being held out to them. And and then that is also what drives me with all like the entrepreneurship activities that I do, my meetup, and like the corporate activities, all of these. The goal there is I want to enable as many people and organizations as possible with the tool set of entrepreneurship. After that, they can still decide whether that's for them or not, whether they want to found something or not at all, but at least they know they are on an even on a fair ground, with everyone else. They know what's possible, they know how to go about it, they know what technology to use. And, that's a fair start for everyone, enabling people, that, empowering people, becoming protagonists and not just consumers. That is my way with everything that I've done in the past decades. And that's also going to be, to an extent, what's happening now with artificial intelligence. Like, I mean, it comes down to little things that, like, the first time that, and I don't know when that was, like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when for the first time I created pictures with DALL-E. The first thing that I did was post them in LinkedIn and tell everyone, this is what's already possible with this little effort. Be aware, people, there's going to be more of that. And then just weeks after that, like ChatGPT came on, and that grabbed a lot of people's attention.
Just remember how many designers were pissed because like they felt that suddenly they're at stake and someone does things better than them. So there was even like a collective lawsuit to I don't know, to claim some royalties because they were used to train the algorithm, and then algorithm does that better with more colors, with deeper structure. Exactly the same thing where at the beginning when the Copilot was released, now it's called Copilot X. So basically integration of ChatGPT in your programming IDE, and some programmers were saying, "Oh, but like like it's been trained on my code already, so therefore it's not fair that it does a better job right now." I mean, like
Yeah, but
it's always
the
comes
attitude
down to
there,
this.
a change of viewpoint. In Malaga, like one of the experts that I'd invited was Boris Eldagsen, who's not only also an ages-old friend, but he has become maybe even globally the leading artist, like photo artist, working with KI. He just 2 weeks ago, the day before we started our session actually in Malaga, he became the first artist to be awarded with the Sony World Photo Award, and for the first time in history for a KI generated picture. Wow, what a breach, like what a fall from grace, because like the shitstorm is still going on. Like all the other photographers that had sent in real pictures taken with real big Hasselblad cameras, they went like, what? This is not art. There was no photography involved even. This guy is not even a photographer. So, that's what's going on in the field of arts. And the way that Boris sees is like how I see it as well. He is still a photographer and artist. He's just using technology in the same way as painters use a brush and a photographer uses photography. Like he uses it as a tool to create artificially meaningful, artful, powerful works of art that have something to say. It's not replacing photography, but it may be indeed replacing the camera. That's or the brush. That's like the big insight that we got there, like one of among many insights. But that's how he sees it. That's how he argues his case, and that's how I think a lot more things will happen. Like just the other day, 2 days ago, I talked with a guy, Maxim, and I already mentioned it to you. Like he's building a video studio, basically a filmmaker studio, where you input a script in text, and the KI generates the movie for you with the dialogue. And with like the camera settings, etc. So like, is he replacing movies? No. Is he replacing creativity? No. With this tool, I can see all of us just trying to, like, we write something down, a poem, a text, whatever, and we look at what comes out of this. Maybe there will be a new TikTok, only, fed by the output of these movie makers. But will that hinder creativity? No, definitely not.
I think it's the best time to be a creator. Like we are surrounded with so many opportunities and tools that suddenly your creative portfolio could jump from images, colors, videos, whatever. I don't know. Probably in the future we even start having like sense of odor. Like basically you could even have like ability to smell something. I was curious because I've heard many questions from a friend of mine, like, Chris is so active, he's everywhere, he does this and this. And it's basically because he doesn't have family and he has all this time. So what do you believe is going to be the future model of families with all these, like, clouds and development and stuff like that?
I mean, it's interesting that you asked me, because I was always so clear that I didn't want a family. So I don't have children. That's one of the reasons. Or let's put it differently. In the past, it was one of the reasons why I could be so independent. But I just said that I think that this is changing, that even people with families, I see that among me, take more liberties. They are not, the more and more people that I know look at alternative ways of schooling. My friend Malte and his wife, they have this website, Weltreise mit Kind. So they support families who want to drop out for 9 months or longer and still, like while their child is, in school. So how can you deal with this? And I think that this is becoming a lot more flexible. But ultimately, it still comes down to what families want, because I think the large majority is still totally happy with this model of having a nice house in a nice surrounding, or like an apartment close to school, and finding this equilibrium between making money, feeling good about the work that you do, having enough time for your children. I think that is, it is growing to like look for a different model, but I don't think that this like the standard model will be replaced for as long as I or you or anyone lives, because it simply works. It works in so many cases. It works for the children who find friends and like a peer group when they stay in one place instead of being everywhere at the same place, right? But the same also goes, by the way, about like, things that you do, or like whether you are like visible in public. That also, I would say, depends less on you having time than many people think. It depends on you having something in you that needs out. And if that is the case, if there's something in you that needs out, there have always been ways to bring it out, to put it out. And these tools have, of course, been ever more available in recent years, but they don't do the job by themselves. It is just the case that only a certain percentage of people have something in them that needs out. And that's nothing good or bad. Yeah, it's just the way it is. There's like, everybody knows the numbers that in a creators community on Facebook, you have like 2% of people creating and 98% consuming. However, these 98% might be productive or, visible in another way. They might be super active in their football club or super active in their Kleingartenkolonie, like in their, like gardening, or like in the local neighborhood organization. So there's many ways. And as I said, like if you have something in you that needs out, you will find others who have something similar or who like to listen what needs out. And like with the tools at our disposal, the whole thing becomes a lot more, let's say, I would say impressive or so than it actually is. Because when I'm looking at myself, I'm seeing a lazy man. I'm really seeing someone who really tries to make things as easy on himself as could possibly be, who only like delves into stuff that he's interested in anyway, instead of like really doing research and working actually. Yeah. So I think that I'm really lazy and that I have it really easy in the world. And everything else is just Theaterdonner. I don't think it's for Theaterdonner. Theater, drums, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Steve Jobs says, I will only hire lazy men because they know how to do things simple.
That's
but,
me.
I get my energy from sport.
I think you're overdoing it, Sergey. I think that like this
No.
thing has become an obsession with you. I think it's not healthy anymore.
But so this is my recipe to get energy. But where do you get your energy from? Because like you're so always like busting with energy. It looks like you're always on drugs.
Yeah, the answer to that is that the world speaks to me. When I leave the house, when I travel, when I see things, like everything I see leaves an impression and puts thoughts and puts energy into me. Honestly, like, I mean, the way that I travel, like for the past 3 months almost now, like every day has a little adventure. Every day has something that I've never seen before. Everything and aspects of beauty more than anything else. Like I'm actively looking for things that give me a shiver down my spine. And like things that give me a shiver down my spine are, for example, the Cathedral of Sevilla. That is such a massively beautiful building with so many details, every little aspect. It's not that you see it once and then you've seen it and you can basically check it off your bucket list. There's so extremely much beauty in it that for a week it can feed my intake. But then there's of course also nature. There's driving. There's aspects of the land. Then there's of course events. That I play in a band. That I've been a musician my entire life, and every time that I play live in my band and we rehearse, that's again a super powerful positive moment that like again puts the threshold like of the battery like to the max. So there's really so many things that connect with me easily, effortlessly, without me having to work for it. That's just the way how I came out of the factory. I think because it has always been the way, and like the world speaks to me. I connect so easily with the world. There's such a constant flow of positive emotion between me and everything that surrounds me. It really sounds esoteric at the moment, but I can't really explain it any differently. I'm not a Buddhist, all the opposite. Like I'm a liberal capitalist. I want money, I want fast cars, I want to see the world, but I'm lucky that I was built that way, or that my parents made me in a way that it's so easy for me to float on the spirit of the world and everything that's in it.
Well, you're saying I'm a liberal capitalist, but for all your friends, you always put people in the middle. So although you have this, liberal economic views, I think if some of your friends would describe it, they say, Chris has a huge heart. He is like, a rooster. He talks a lot. He's very visible, but inside, like, the heart is still is still bigger than his ego. And you being a historian and being like, human centric, I would love to ask this very important question, because I know that you have a hard cut. You need to attend to another workshop. What is your views on the end of war? The future for Ukraine, the startup ecosystem in Kiev. Like, how do you predict the future there, and what should happen to to make it right?
That's a topic that's indeed very close to my heart. That I've been, like, in recent years, I've been to Ukraine and to Kiev several times, and I have all sorts of plans to collaborate with friends in and from Ukraine. So the moment that there is an option and an out, I will be there, and I want to work on that. That's more important to me than artificial intelligence, and that's also more important to me than traveling and enjoying the Cathedral of Seville. What I think is that my view on this has changed. I think, like with most people, initially I thought that this was very much about the Ukrainians being more powerful and defeating the Russians. And of course, that's still true. But I think the one thing that needs to happen is not within Ukraine, but in Russia. I, meanwhile, really think that the one thing that could and would end this immediately is someone killing Putin, or there being, like, because indeed, as a historian, there's like different systems, or let's say there's different kind of autocracies. Like, you can see, like, Iran, for example. Iran is not dependent on the leader, because there's an entrenched hierarchy that rules the country from the bottom up. And if you remove the leader, the system is still there. With Russia, I still think, and I've spent time and I speak the language to an extent. I've always been interested in Russia and in Eastern Europe. I've read the classics, so that's really one of my top topics intellectually. Despite what people say about how Russia has changed in recent decades into exactly such an autocratic, mean state, I still believe that all of this, a little bit like, with Hitler's Germany, would change if the top job would be replaced, in any way. Because so many things are really happening on the personal cruelty and the personal power of Putin. It's really like with Stalin. Like, the moment that Stalin fell, so many other things fell too, because ultimately it was all about people knowing that Stalin, if he was forced to, he would actually take a pistol and kill you. He wouldn't delegate that. Stalin was that much of a cruel, violent person that he would not refrain from anything: killing, maiming, raping. He was evil to his core. So that's why so many people were really, like, personally afraid. And I think that is still the case with Putin. Like, after, like, so many decades in the Secret Service, after so many instances of personal cruelty and extraction and lawlessness, this is very much about him. So, for good or bad, like, it could be over quickly if something happened. But for as long as it doesn't happen, this is going to drag on. No matter, I'm afraid, how successfully the Ukrainians fight, and no matter how much the Russians lose in morale, it could be over tomorrow. But it might as well go on for however long.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for these predictions, wise words, and full optimism for everything we've touched upon today, from history to AI development and the history of our beloved country. If you would like to connect with Christoph, I'm gonna put his personal links down below in the description. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and share. And yeah, pretty much, as always, enjoyed meeting you virtually and in person, and look forward to meet you soon again.